So the first thing I want you to know is that we live in a real world and Christians are not exempt from chaos.
咁我哋就係我哋明白到我哋活喺呢個世界入邊，咁我哋成為基督徒咧，我哋係愛知道我哋係唔需要失腳嘅喺呢個混亂嘅狀態入邊。
A clear example is Job.
咁一個好清晰嘅呢個例子咧，就係呢個約伯啊。
He had 500 oxen and 500 donkeys, and they were all stolen away by the Sabians.
咁佢有500個羊群、500個牛啦，佢都俾人哋偷走咗啦。
He had 7,000 sheep in one day, and it says there was fire, and it says all the sheep died.
咁佢有7000個羊啦，咁佢喺一夜之間咧，佢嘅全部嘅呢個畜生死埋啦。
Thieves came and stole and took away 3,000 of his camels.
咁呢個賊嚟到偷走佢嘅3000嘅呢個家嘅呢個畜生啦。
He literally was bankrupt.
佢可以講係完全嘅破產啦。
They were all his assets that he had.
咁喺所有嘅產業。
Now in those days, you count your wealth by the number of animals that you have.
咁以前咧，喺當個時代咧，就係用呢個羊群呢個畜生嘅數量咧嚟到衡量佢哋嘅財富。
And on the same day, he thought that the worst was over. One more servant came in, and it says, I just came out, and it says there was such a horrible wind that came, and it says the foundations of the house fell down on your eldest son, and it says all your 7 sons and your 3 daughters are buried alive in that place, and they have all perished.
咁佢諗住啊，呢個狀況呢個狀態已經過去咗啦，但係誰不知喺當夜嗰晚夜咧，就係有一陣大風嚟到毀滅佢嘅家園啦，佢所有嘅兒女、佢嘅仔、佢嘅女都已經死響當中，佢嘅工人唯一嘅工人嚟到佢面前同佢講啦：主人啊，主人，你嘅兒女、你嘅仔女全部響呢個災難入邊死咗了啦。
My, that is terrible.
咁艱難嘅時刻。
He lost everything that was precious.
佢失去所有一切珍貴。
Fearless when problems come, when tragedy comes, when things that we cannot explain, we cannot understand comes, but yet we will not fall.
咁當問題嚟到嘅時候，乜嘢空難嚟到嘅時候，咩事情產生喺我哋面前嘅時候，我哋都唔需要懼怕，依然站立喺面前。
That's where I want to bring you to the story of Jesus.
咁我要帶你去嚟到睇呢個耶穌同我哋講嘅呢件事。
After feeding the 5,000, he sent his disciples off on a boat.
咁係餵養咗5000個人之後咧，佢就送佢嘅門徒上船啦。
And he went up to the mountain to pray.
咁佢自己就上到山嗰度祈禱。
That was his original purpose of going to that place.
咁呢個就係佢嘅目的，去到嗰個地方。
But because the crowds came to know him, that he was there, such a huge crowd came by, and they had no time to pause and not to wait upon God.
咁就係喺多人嘅當中入邊咧，佢沒有時間嚟到親近神。咁而家佢就係送走嗰啲人啊，送走個門徒去到山上嚟到祈禱。
So at the end of the day, he quickly sent the disciples away.
咁喺呢個夜晚之後咧，佢就快快嘅送去個門徒
He
上船。
dismissed the crowds.
佢嚟到打散分散嗰啲人。
And then he went up to the mountain to pray.
咁之後咧，佢就自己上山去祈禱。
Jesus needed to pray.
咁耶穌都需要祈禱。
How much more you and I?
咁更何況係你同我咧？
And I pray that 2015 will be a breakthrough year in your prayer life in God.
咁我盼望喺2015年入邊成為你祈禱突破嘅一年。
So while he was praying up on the mountain,
當耶穌喺呢個山上祈禱嘅時候，
the Bible records that the disciples were out in the middle of the Sea of Galilee.
咁佢個門徒咧已經係坐喺船嗰度，已經係出咗去到呢
And
個
when the Bible says the disciples were at the 4th watch of the night, that was between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m.
咁個聖經入邊就同我哋講係喺3更嘅當中啦，喺呢個時段咧，我哋猜測係喺3點凌晨到6點凌晨嘅當中。
Let me ask you, what were you doing from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. this morning?
咁我可以問你嘛？今日朝早從3點凌晨到6點凌晨，你做緊啲咩咧？
Probably deep asleep.
咁多數咧，一般上都係響入睡入邊嘅，好熟睡嘅入邊。
But these guys could not sleep because they were trying to get to the other side, and there was a strong wind that was coming against them.
但係呢個門徒係佢哋唔係響瞓覺入邊喎，佢哋係坐緊船過去對岸嗰度喎。但係當然嗰陣時咧係有風大嚟到攻擊佢哋。
So Jesus sent them off before night came, And so, like roughly, they have been in that sea for 9 hours, and they were not making any headway.
咁當時咧係傍晚嘅時候咧，聖經又同我哋講啦，耶穌就差佢哋去，佢哋就上出嚟行喎。咁之時講咧，佢哋響呢個海當中已經有超過或者係9個時鐘咁耐喎。
So they were struggling to get on land.
佢哋係好掙扎嘅響當中。
They were in the midst of chaos.
佢哋響呢個混亂嘅當中嘅情況入邊。
And Jesus said that He saw them.
咁經文同我哋講咧，耶穌睇到
He saw that they were already terribly frightened. He says, "Do not fear."
當佢睇到佢門徒響混亂、響害怕嘅時候，佢行前嚟同佢講：唔需要害怕，係我。
And we can learn from this.
我哋響呢度學習到啲咩咧？
Jesus would not allow fear to inflict His disciples.
咁耶穌基督係唔允許呢個懼怕嚟到響呢個門徒嘅心入邊產生
And
嘅。
we need to treat the same way. Whenever we have fear come in our hearts, immediately it says identify it, reject it, and stand up against it.
我哋喺我哋嘅生命入邊，我哋都需要咁樣嘅操練㗎。當害怕事情混亂嚟到我哋嘅當中嘅時候，我哋應該站立嚟到斥責呢個害怕離開我哋嘅心。
To overcome chaos, we need to have God's calmness and confidence.
嚟到面對呢個混亂嘅呢個狀態咧，我哋需要神嘅呢個平靜喺我哋嘅心入邊嚟到面對。
So don't accept fear and dwell in fear.
咁我哋唔會接受，唔會容許，唔會讓呢個害怕嚟到進入我哋嘅心。